But Mr. Moyo Sherry Nigbanjo joins us now. He's also a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this CJN, everyone Senate spoke about it. NJC has eventually, and then gives a lot of impression out there. I mean, some would think that why will CJN can the CJN deliberately just take that decision in spite of all the information she has, and eventually had to rescind that decision? What's going on with that from your perspective?
Well, with this matter in particular, I think the CJN and the NJC have suffered a lot of bad press unjustifiably. Because look at it, if somebody makes a petition or allegation against the justice, I mean, due process must be followed. So the petition must be addressed one way or the other. And I believe at that point in time, all that had been done was to suspend the swearing in pending when the NJC can, investigate and review the matter. At the end of the day, the NJC said, well, they've decided to say, go ahead with the swearing in. So to me, there's a lot of what I'll call mob hysteria, like in the situation of the Alu 4, whereby once there is any allegation, people jump to conclusion, people want instant justice. People don't want to follow the due process. If you go to the police and report an allegation, no matter how flimsy, how stupid, how irrelevant that petition is, they have to investigate it. At the end of the day, they will come out and say, okay, the petition is founded, we're going to prosecute you. Or they can say the petition has no basis, and that's the end of the matter. So I think people were expecting, if an allegation is made, that a judge who wants to be sworn in was, trying to use a state of origin that was not ours in order to get that position on federal character basis. I think the reasonable thing to do for anybody, and I mean when I say body, I mean office, is to say, okay, let us take a look at that. Wait a minute, we will look at that, and if either way, then we'll decide what to do, which to me was what happened in this case. But because of our mob mentality, we're so used now to, jumping the gun, rushing to conclusion. And again, because of there is deep mistrust for government institutions. I believe that was why in this case, people jumped to conclusion that, hey, NJC, how can you do this? CJN, how can you do this? When in actual fact, at the end of the day, I believe the NJC and the CJN were just carrying out the due process. On the other hand, supposing there was a serious petition against that woman, and the CJN, because she's a woman, waved it off and arbitrarily said, no, I'm going ahead, I'm going to swear in. Then people will come out and say, oh, because she's a woman, make all kinds of allegations. But in a situation whereby somebody insists on following due process, I don't really see why there should be all this solar balloon.
Well, anyway, so many talk about all of this, and we also looked at the section 42(1) of the Constitution. But I think this whole issue borders on indigenship, and if that is what we're looking at, and as well as the federal character principle, how does it operate? Is it that a woman who marries out of her state of origin is almost twice as lucky as even the man? Now, do you lay claim to two states of origin in this case?
Unfortunately, that is the funny situation in which our nation finds itself. We have relegated merit to the background and promoted what I'll call incompetence, largely under the guise of federal character, to the fore. Because that's what you get when you're going to appoint somebody as the head of an institution based on the accident of his birth. you know, because nobody comes to this world choosing where they're going to be born. So because maybe I was born in the Southwest, right, I might not get a post that I deserve and not to get on merit. So that is the complexity of our nation. And when you look at the controversy or let me say the differences between the two sections, federal character says, you know, if you're a married woman, you know, for the purposes of the act, you take the state of your spouse, right? But on the other hand, the Constitution says that nobody can be discriminated against on the basis of sex, religion, belief, what have you. I mean, ordinarily, the Constitution, you know, is supreme. And I believe at the end of the day, maybe when the NJC, because I wasn't there, when the NJC considered this matter, they decided to say, okay, well, the Constitution is supreme. This woman, this petition alleging that she's claiming Abia, which is not a state of origin, you know, then they decided to do away with it.
You know, Mr. Onigbajo, you know, this is so important, and it's right there in the Constitution. These are some of the issues we should also be talking about now. We talk of constitutional review, but how come some of these issues or these matters are not are never brought up? Instead, we're talking about state creation, some bogus issue, when we know that there's some other issue that can actually jeopardize our future decision.
Yeah. If you look at a substantial portion of the constitutional review exercise, right, touches on constitutional provisions in which politicians can get, you know, can either make some money or patronage or whatever. They are not really interested in the nitty-gritty that will improve the existence of citizens of Nigeria. They're not interested in that. They're more interested in creating states. When you create more states, somebody else can become a governor, more people can become commissioners. There's the issue of allocation. They're more interested in the price that the budget, that oil will sell in the budget and all those kind of things. But, you know, really, do they sit down to really look at all these aspects of the Constitution? Even if they can't, do they call people, do they empower experts to say, look, take the Constitution and go into it in the minute details and tell us what needs to be amended? I'll give you another example. The justice sector reform bills before both houses of the National Assembly, you know, they suffer a lot of delay. They are not passed. Why? Because there is nobody to lobby, there is nobody to cajole them, there is nobody to do PR. So all those kind of bills won't go anywhere. But once it's a bill that has monetary implications, that has financial implications, that bill will fly.
Are there a number of these bills before them now?
Yeah, there are quite so many. The Legal Practitioners Act, it took them a while before the Evidence Act was amended. There's also the Criminal Justice Sector Reform Bill. There are a legion of them there.
But there are members of the bar that are in the National Assembly. Can't they be like lobbied, let me use the word for lack of a better word, lobbied to push through those bills?
Yes, they can be lobbied, and indeed the NBA has set up, you know, a committee to try to, you know, approach members of the bar who are in the National Assembly to in fact form them into an association through which NBA will push for passage of all these justice sector bills. But then again, you know, these members of the NBA, they are beholden to so many things, not just the NBA. They have their constituencies, they have their parties, they have their allegiance to the leadership of the National Assembly.
And they need to get re-elected.
And they need to get re-elected. So, you know, when you go to them, it's definitely going to rank at the bottom of their priority list.